Hi, welcome back. Welcome to Market Sense. These are the India numbers for Havells. So these don't, of course, include Sylvania. But I think the bottom line is marginally, ever so marginally below what we were working with. 13% was the estimate. They've come in at 12.6. I don't think there's any concern there. The key number would be the margins. Let's figure out if they have managed to sustain them and improve upon the number at around 13.6 or whether that has gone down. So for that, you need to watch out on an EBITDA number of 160 odd crores. If they're delivered northwards of 160, that would mean that the EBITDA margins are stable or probably slightly better. We're also waiting for the net sales numbers. They are at 1267 crores. So the top line has definitely increased. So I reckon the EBITDA number also should be higher. It shouldn't be 160. It should be slightly more for them to be able to sustain the margins of 13.6 odd percent. We'll wait for those numbers to come out. But flat, really, nothing to take away out there. It's pretty much in line with what we were working with. So no changes on Havells India, the India business at least. Net sales, net profit, almost in line with estimates. Marginally higher, the top line, but the bottom line is pretty much at par. I think that the concern probably, if at all, and actually we've got the margins as well, 12.7% versus 13.5%, that isn't the most pleasant number. So maybe that's why the stock just a little bit subdued now, down about 1%, because the operational performance hasn't been the best for Havells. But top line above estimates, bottom line largely in line with what we were working with.
Okay, those are the earnings, and Havells currently is still in the red, so it's at 12.21 as we speak. But let's focus in on the macros as always, and joining in on the show we've got Maithili Bushnell-Matt, consulting editor ET Now, and we also have our macro expert with us on the show, Mr. D.K. Joshi, Director and Chief Economist at CRISIL. Great having you both. Thanks so much for joining in. Maithili, I'm going to start off with you, and just to take note of the kind of prints that we've had of late, CPI and WPI for June, it wasn't a bad number. The base effect too also played out this time around. Few more raindrops also, they've appeared across the Indian skies. So do you think that there is a chance that the RBI may hit that interim target of 8% YOY headline CPI inflation by Jan?
Well, I think the RBI would be pretty hopeful of hitting that 8%. It doesn't look so difficult. Chances are it will reach that. But I think the RBI would be more worried about the 6% it is required to reach by the subsequent January 2015. And if they want to achieve that, I think they will have to kind of still be very watchful and very wary about where prices are going to be. Because as you mentioned, one of the reasons for the decline in the inflation index is because of the base effect. And if the monsoons, as we are not very sure, there was a revival, then again it seems to be subdued. So we're not very sure on the food front. So my sense is the RBI will still be very watchful and very wary, because while 8% in January 2000, this is not too difficult. It is a 6% in January 2016, 8% for January 2015 and 6% for January 2016. That looks very difficult. So I think the RBI would still be very watchful and would play its cards very, very carefully.
Mr. Joshi, is that a view that you concur with, that, as Maithili pointed out, the key risk does seem to be the food prices again, perhaps following the poor monsoon as it has been at least so far? And what is your sense on how easy it would be for them to achieve some of those targets?
Well, I think the 8% target we believe is likely to be achieved if the oil doesn't play a spoil sport. I think whatever problems we have due to monsoons, I think partly they are addressable, because if you look at the pattern, the crops that have been affected, they're largely coarse cereals, etc., which do not have that large a weight in CPI. The rice sowing rice production is still going to hold up largely, provided the rains in the next few days continue to be good. So and as government also has some options available of releasing rice and wheat into the market, so they can put a tab on inflation and try to keep it at 8%. But I think the point is, which Maithili was raising, is the next year's target, which I completely agree. I think bringing it down to 6%, not as a one-off shot, but on a sustainable basis, I think that is going to be a major challenge, because we haven't done anything fundamental on the food front. So it's hard to believe that on a sustainable basis food inflation will edge down to I think it needs to be close to 6.5 to 7% on a sustained basis to get an overall inflation of 6%. I think that is where the challenge is, and I think we're still not sure how that target would be met. I think the next year's target.
Maithili, please excuse me for a moment out there, because the Sylvania numbers of Havells are out, and that's why the stock is down about 1.5%. The net profit on Sylvania is $0.6 million, if I'm not wrong. I read that number, 0.3 million. versus a loss, but versus what we were working with, a net profit of $2 million. So yes, the loss has been narrowed down and they've come into the black, but I think number is far away from what the street was working with, and this would probably be a disappointment. So the Indian operations, the EBITDA numbers haven't been the best, and Sylvania, while everybody's talking about an uptick coming in out there, I think the bottom line is slightly lower, in fact quite lower than what the street was working with. So disappointment on 2 counts, and which is why I mean, there could be a bounce back, sure, but I don't expect any kind of an uptick to come into Havells purely because of these numbers. So just that bit. Maithili, I don't want to disturb the conversation further, so please take it away.
Dr. Joshi, there's one big event to watch out for this week, and that is the FOMC, the Fed Open Markets Committee meeting, that is on Tuesday and Wednesday. What are you expecting the Fed to say? Will they continue with that 10 billion tapering, which takes us down to 25 billion, or do you think they will stop and pause? Because after all, the US GDP numbers have not been very good. There's been a 2.9% contraction in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think the first quarter contraction was due to weather and also due to inventory, which I think one can treat it as one-off. I think there's still some momentum left in the US economy, but the growth is definitely not going to be as high as was expected initially, and even the IMF has cut down the US growth forecast quite sharply for 2014. So I think in this situation, my sense is that the tapering will continue, but the Fed will remain easy on the monetary policy from the other side. So I think there's no scope of pushing the rates up anytime soon. But tapering, I think, needs to be. I think it's a process of normalization. So I think they will continue with the taper, and maybe by October, November they'll complete the tapering. That's our expectation.
And how do you expect this to impact the Reserve Bank of India's thinking when it frames a monetary policy that is new the next week?
Well, I think RBI is already factoring in the end of tapering. I think that is their normal scenario. I think that's what they have been communicating also. I think so this, and we have fared quite well, rather. I mean, we have managed the US tapering quite well, and I think no turmoil on the currency front. And I don't see the tapering decision affecting RBI in any way. And my expectation is that the central bank will stay on put, because the inflation is on track in the sense that their 8% target is likely to be met, but there's not enough confidence to start cutting the rates. So we expect them to hold rates through this calendar year till December.
Another big number to watch out for this week is the core sector growth. What are the kind of numbers that you're penciling in? Because we've seen some ups and downs in the core sector growth as well. So what can we expect this time around?
Well, I think I can forecast most variables, but I think core sector is something which we have absolutely no handle on. I think it just jumps up and down, and it's very, very difficult to say where the core sector will be. I mean, I do expect it to be in the positive territory. I think beyond that, I think it's very hard to predict, and it's so volatile that I think it's very difficult to make sense of any trend in that data.
That's true. Core sector growth has been very much like IIP data. It doesn't exhibit any trend at all. Absolutely. But if I can shift to a slightly larger macro policy issue, this is as far as the WTO talks are concerned. The government seems to have dug its heels on the trade facilitation agreement or whatever. Now, how much will this impact our exports if India is ruled out of multilateral negotiations and countries like the US have increasingly gone the bilateral route? Will it have some long-term implications really as far as India's export growth is concerned? And should the government worry about that?
Well, I think in the long run, I think multilateral agreement is always preferable to bilateral agreement, and we also have been doing agreements with other economies. But I think overall, as far as the trade is concerned, I think we need to have a proper strategy going ahead, because I think even if you look at it from the point of employment generation in the economy, we are focusing on labor-intensive sectors. All of those cannot cater to the domestic economy, so you have to push your exports out, and I think you need a trade facilitation framework for doing it. So I think that it would be a big concern to me. I mean, at least to how will you ensure that your exports not only stay competitive, but the overall environment also remains conducive to trade. Let's watch for further developments in this area. But I think this should be a key concern for all of us.
Absolutely. Another report that is doing the rounds now is about as far as merger of banks is concerned. There have been talk of IDBI, United Bank of India merger. Now, does this really solve the problem? United Bank of India was in a bad situation with heavy NPAs. Now, if you merge one, fairly sick bank with another bank which is not in the best of health, does it just make both banks, the new merged entity a little sicker than before, or does it really solve a problem?
Well, it depends. But sometimes I think there are benefits to be had from mergers. I have not analyzed this particular case you are mentioning, but if one bank has a good balance sheet, I think it can easily take off a weak bank, and I think it will be good for both of them eventually. But I think about the specific case you mentioned, I think at least I haven't looked at the possibilities of merger and how it will benefit.
Views, to probe a little bit more this time around on what the expectations are from the central bank, on the basis of what we've seen so far, do you think that even if at all, we do see some moves by the RBI, it would be only temporary because, of the way inflation has been panning out?
Well, I think as far as the central bank is concerned, as I pointed out, I think they will stay put at this juncture. I think the monetary policy move from the Fed will not be on unpredictable lines, or so it will be as expected. I think on the domestic front, the concerns on growth remain, but I think the concerns of inflation, particularly from the point of view of what Maithili was pointing out, 2016, I think they very much remain. So in this situation, I think they can at best do nothing, and doing nothing would also will also be equivalent to doing something, because I think what this would signal is that the days of lower interest rates are yet to come, and even though government has been very proactive on the fiscal front, they have projected a very aggressive target of 4.1%, which I don't believe is likely to be met this year. So I think central bank will also be watch out for that. So I think overall, I think there seems to be enough reason for them to be on hold, but not enough to cut the rates at this juncture.
Okay, so that's the call coming in on what the central bank is likely to deliver. Thanks very much then, Mr. Joshi, as well as Maithili, for joining in and taking us through that interesting discussion on the macros. In the meantime then, for the equity markets, as we speak, it's at 77.47, so still in the red by about 0.5%. No support whatsoever from the broader markets or from the Bank Nifty for that matter. We'll take a quick break right here on the show and focus a little bit more on some of the mid-cap movers, get in some picks as well as earnings estimates on the other side.